Today's gospel, taken from Matthew chapter 10, is actually the last in three parts of a gospel where Jesus is speaking to the apostles. In the first part, Jesus tells the apostles he's giving them the authority to preach, how and where and to whom to preach. Jesus gives them the power to heal. He tells them what to take with them on their travels, where to stay, and how to conduct themselves. The second part of chapter 10, which was last week's gospel, Jesus tells the apostles that there will be great opposition to what they say, but not to worry, as the Father will send the Spirit to them to fill their mouths with the words they need to overcome. They are to speak clearly and openly, not to ever be fearful of telling people about Jesus. And Jesus tells them to never deny him, because by not denying Jesus, Jesus will acknowledge them before God. And finally, today's gospel, the third part, Jesus tells us that we are to take up our cross and follow him. We are to deny ourselves and much more. Love Jesus over all our family, friends, and possessions. Jesus says that whoever loves their mother or father more than me is not worthy of me. So we see Jesus has started out giving us just a beginning, his words. He builds on this as to when we are to share the words and with whom. He continues to build with how and where. He tells us to go out as disciples. And then he hits the high note with our commitment is to love him above all else. Quite a lofty peak, quite a lofty finale. Well, this coming week, during many fireworks displays for the 4th of July, there's always a finale which is traditionally set to music, usually Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture. The beginning of that piece starts slowly, as if the end were near. After a while, the mood changes. The music seems to lift us. We come to another passage where the music seems to level off, and then it again picks up as if in a state of suspense, urgency. The piece reaches to the heights with cannons and bold, loud strikes, where as we see the fireworks, they're fast and furious themselves. We've come to that crescendo where the giving of its all, the music, the musicians, the fireworks, all have reached the apex of the reason for why we are here. It's a bit like what Jesus was doing in the three parts of Matthew chapter 10. He starts slowly, telling the apostles what they are commissioned to do as he will be leaving them. He works to change the mood, giving them the courage to speak and heal, and then builds to that anxiety of oppositions and persecution. Then he's bold in telling them and us that we must never deny him in our words or our actions, that we must always stand on what he would say or do. And the ultimate, the apex, comes when he tells us to love him over everything and anything else. Well, in this sense, over 200 years ago, people came here to the New World, as well as they are coming today, seeking, among other things, religious freedom. This past week of June 22nd through June 29th, the USCCB has asked us to celebrate Religious Freedom Week for the good of all. I encourage all to go to that website, the usccb.org, where it will define what this week is about and prayers for each day of the week. The website says religious freedom is both an important part of Catholic teaching on human dignity as well as an American value. By promoting religious freedom, we promote the common good. There are many attacks these days against our Catholic organizations, both in the U.S. and throughout the world. And this freedom of religion is not only against us Catholics, but across all religions in all countries. We must be aware of these negative forces and be consistent in our fight against them for all of our God-fearing brothers and sisters. The United States is still the beacon of freedom for the suppressed of many countries. The enjoyment of the music, the fireworks, being a part of this freedom celebration is because we live in this country. Our forefathers made sacrifices so we could have the rights we do today. Martyrs, St. Thomas More and St. John Fisher, whose feast day was this past June 22nd, gave their life because they so believed in living the good. They wanted to be examples to us. So we too would live in the good and be free to pursue the truth. All this was done for us, for our freedom, and we have no less a commitment to the same. We have to make sacrifices to live as free people. The cost of freedom in our country is no less than the cost of being a follower of Jesus. We are blessed as we live in the freedom of our country and the spirit of freedom in Jesus.